News on 3FM 92.7. I am Nancy Vukania, and coming up today. Roads and Highway Ministry assures work on the expansion of the 19.5-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway would help ease traffic buildup and also enhance the movement of goods from the port city of Tema. Coming up also, voting of prospective NPP parliamentary aspirants enters day 2. We'll be live with updates from our reporters on the ground. And with barely 11 months to the general elections, latest survey by Global Info Analytics predicts a one-touch victory for the NDC's John Dramani Mahama. Details of these and more coming up this afternoon. Stay tuned. And now let's settle for some details. Now, work on the 10-lane, 19.5-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway project is progressing steadily as contractors are working to meet the 3-year timeline for completion of the project. The project also includes the construction of 5 new interchanges to ease the traffic buildup and inconveniences motorists face. The Accra-Tema motorway was built under the administration of Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The stretch of the road was fashioned after the Autobahn in Germany and was purposed to be the first in motorway systems that would link major towns and cities in Ghana. On November 30, 1965, President Kwame Nkrumah opened the Accra-Tema motorway. Over the years, a lack of maintenance has led to the deterioration of the Accra-Tema motorway, with bitumen having been used over the years to patch a concrete asphalt road. We will engage my colleague George Quaining, who has been to the site. But first, let's listen to Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amwakwata, who has been warning individuals who have erected unapproved structures along the stretch to bring them down before the Ghana Highway Authority Task Force is forced to do so.
ACB about road reservation. Sandy Padina, GHA, Ghana Highway Authority, I try on the day that I won't go. I want you on. Maybe two just Sandy Padina.
So that is Kwesi Amwakwata, the Minister for Roads and Highways there. My colleague George Quaining is at the build site. George, many thanks for joining me now. What is currently going on at the motorway site? Does it look like it's a huge construction project?
Sure, thanks for having me. Good afternoon. I come to you live from the Accra-Tema motorway. So what is going on now is the mobilization stage by the contractors, which is my former enterprise limited. It's a Ghanaian-owned company. So they're mobilizing their resources. They've already done their first campsite, which has their machinery. So they are trying to do the second campsite, which will have their batching and some, plans for the project, and also have their offices. So now they are doing the road alignment. The road alignment determines the scope of work. So the extent of work that will be covered for 3.5 years. And so the current state of the motorway is in the back state, and it has 2 lanes, the Accra-bound, Tema-bound. So with this very project, after the completion, the motorway will have 10 lanes, so 5 on each side. So the main 2 lanes would now be turned into expressways, and there are new additions, which are 3 lanes, will be service lanes. So there's this new development along the stretch. Before the motorway, there was no urbanization and all that. So now that there is urbanization, they have to accommodate that very development. That means that the service lanes will accommodate U-turns, stops, and all that. But once it hits the expressway, when it gets on it, you're going to the end of the expressway. There's no chance for you to make any turns. So if you're doing U-turns and all that, then you have to use the services. So you either have to decide if I'm doing the expressway or I'm doing the service way. The expressway will have concrete finishing, and the service lanes would have asphalt finishing. So as a motorist, you just decide which lanes you would use after the completion of the project in 3.5 years. And it's going to take, 3 phases. So the first phase is the one Proxima roundabout to Tetekwashi interchange. That's the first phase. So when they are done, they'll do the second phase, which is Tetekwashi roundabout to Apenkwa. That's the second phase. The third phase is from Apenkwa to New Plant. So the 3.5 years, the end will be at New Plant.
Right. So that entire stretch then makes up the N1, isn't it?
Exactly. Right.
Right. So George, has construction proper actually started?
What actually is going on is road alignment. Road alignment and then mapping out of structures that are supposed to be demolished. There are lots of let's say billboards on the stretch which needs to be pulled down. So the reconstruction team is mapping out these structures. So they'll give notice to these owners, give them some time. And so if the time elapses and these structures are still there, they have no choice but to put them down. So these are structures in the way of the project. So if the time is given, you don't really, reiterate it, they have no option than to put them down. So there are lots of structures and billboards of that sort that needs to be demolished.
I will not assume if you've met any of the owners of some of these structures, but of course there are people using the roads as you're there now. Have you spoken to any of the people utilizing the stretch?
Yeah, okay. I spoke to some motorists, and one man, for instance, was like, okay, he doesn't want to believe because it's election year, that's the reason they want to just put this, vote from electorate. But one other man that I saw, you can see that is, widely traveled. He has a British accent, and he's like, it's very ambitious. 10 lanes is very ambitious. At least we can do 3, and why not do 3 and then finish it instead of doing 10? Overly ambitious and not completing it even within the 3.5 years.
I see.
So
interesting. Interesting times ahead. Thank you very much, George, for joining me. George Quenyin there, he is at the build site of the Accra-Tema motorway. And still on the story, let's engage a patron of the Snit Flat Residents Association, Charles Taylor, who has just joined me on the line. I think we've lost Charles Taylor there. We'll try to reach him again. But the Accra-Tema motorway, as we said, was opened by the first president of the Republic of Ghana. And it's been in use since that time, but there has been very minimal maintenance on the road where bitumen has been used to patch up parts of the motorway. Now, the new project of the Accra-Tema motorway, it's a 10-lane project. It includes the construction of the 5 new interchanges to ease traffic build-up and then inconveniences faced by motorists. I have back on the line the patron of the Snit Flat Residents Association, Charles Taylor. Good afternoon, Charles.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Sorry, we lost you there, but now we have you back. What do you make of the commencement of this project?
Well, residents are excited by this news that they're going to, start work on the motorway because it will ease a lot of inconveniences that the residents have been going through, and we are excited about the news. We hope the work will go on smoothly. The contractor will always be on site, and the work will be completed on schedule.
Right. So, Charles, there's this issue of unapproved structures along the motorway. This is supposed to be a 10-lane project. How serious is this issue?
Well, if I heard the minister right, he is going all out to make sure that unapproved structures are, demolished to pave way for the speedy completion of the project. So I know we are on track.
Right. Some people that have been spoken to, some users of the stretch, say this is a bit ambitious, a 10-lane project. And what's your take on that?
No, I don't think it's ambitious because there are side roads, and the main motorway will be, I think, 3 lanes with additional side roads, on each side. And for those entering the motorway to have a smooth entry onto the motorway. So I don't think it's ambitious. It's on the right track. When you see other roads elsewhere, that's how they go about it.
Very well. Thank you very much, Charles, for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right, so Charles Taylor is the patron of the Snit Flats Residents Association. Let's move on to some health stories now. And this afternoon, the reconstruction of the La General Hospital is progressing smoothly after an almost 4-year hiatus. Project manager of the La General Hospital, Emmanuel Kwe, says 50% of the excavation for the foundation of the reconstruction of the hospital is complete. He's optimistic the main concrete works should commence in a week. Emmanuel Samani is on site now at the La General Hospital and has just joined me. Good afternoon, Samani.
Good afternoon, Nancy.
Right. So, Samani, you are there now. You can see what's going on. Can you paint us a picture of what's going on the grounds?
Right. So, currently here at the Light General Hospital, where the reconstruction is ongoing, there's a lot of activity ongoing here. I see some chipper trucks, some bulldozers, and the like, because some excavation work is currently ongoing. Now, this excavation work would lead to the construction of the foundation of the main building. So there's so many, workers here clad in their safety gear and their reflective jackets. You see some scaffolds here as well. So you could say that work is, progressing smoothly here as the reconstruction of the Light General Hospital continues.
Right. So, Samani, when you think about the 4-year hiatus for this project's commencement, there must be some observers in the area there. Have you spotted anyone watching or observing what's going on? Any residents around the area of La?
Right. So you know that prior to the demolition of the hospital, there used to be a number of businesses in and around the hospital. So upon coming here, you could see that there's a keen eye on, the construction. I've been interacting with some of the locals here. They tell me they're pretty excited because this project has stalled for far too long. And so they're looking forward to the completion of the OPD at least by November this year. That's what the project engineer tells me. He said, all things being equal, the OPD will commence operations latest by November 2024. And so there's some form of optimism in the air, particularly for locals and businesses in and around the Light General Hospital, Nancy.
Very well. So, Samani, you've been engaging the project manager, Emmanuel Kwe. What has he been saying to you?
Right. So he tells me that the excavation of the foundation of the OPD has been ongoing. It's about 50% complete now. And I've been interacting with him, and here's what he has to say.
As I told you the last time, excavation has commenced. We promised to finish it within a week, but we are having a problem with the dumping site. We're dumping all the way down summer, and because of the festive season, the highway was choked. Now we've spoken to the MMDC, and they have given us a place at Laboma, so that is where we are now. So currently, I can say we are about 50% of the main hospital foundation excavation. As you can see, we will do the level checks, then we start dumping in boulders and start the main concrete works. So hopefully by the time we get here next week, we are not waiting to finish the entire excavation. We will start moving from the top to the down here. So hopefully by next week, when you come, you'll see some concrete work ongoing.
Right. So that was Emmanuel Kwe. He is the project manager of the reconstruction of the La General Hospital. Emmanuel Samani, are you still with me?
I am here, Nancy.
Right. So, Emmanuel, many thanks. And hopefully the promise of the OPD being complete latest by November this year will come true for the residents. Many thanks for joining me, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
So Emmanuel Samani there on site at the reconstruction of the La General Hospital. Now still on health, the Ghana Medical Association has announced new designations for its members to ensure patient safety and quality healthcare. The new designations, which took effect from January 1, are Doctor for medical doctors, Doctor into brackets med for medical doctors, and Doctor into brackets Dent, DENT, for dentists/dental surgeons. Meanwhile, medical doctors and dentists with additional academic titles are to prefix these new titles with the academic titles as Prof, Doctor into brackets Med, Prof. Dr. Med. Dr. Med. Prof. Dr. into brackets Dent. And Prof. Dr. into brackets Dent. Now, the Ghana Medical Association believes this move will help the association improve patients' rights and patient safety in its quest to deliver quality health care. GMA has therefore urged members to comply with the new directives for easy identification and public safety. Now to some politics. In barely 12 months, Ghana will be going to the polls to elect a new president and 276 members of parliament. And ahead of that, a survey by Global Info Analytics Limited reveals the National Democratic Congress's John Dramani Mahama as the likely candidate to emerge as the winner ahead of the New Patriotic Party's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The poll has NDC flag bearer John Mahama leading in all regions except the Northeast region. We will be joining Musa Dankwa, who is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, to speak to this matter. Now, flag bearer of the main opposition National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has warned that should he win the 2024 elections, he will not spare anyone who would be found to have engaged in corrupt activities. According to the former president, the NDC will allow unfettered space for the anti-corruption agencies to deal with anybody who abuses the public trust under his administration. John Mahama was addressing the nation in his New Year message on Wednesday, January 3.
Also passionate about the fight against corruption and uprooting poor governance to ensure that our resources are used responsibly and ethically. I firmly believe a transparent and accountable government is essential for building trust and confidence in our institutions. We will hold to account members of this administration who have abused the public trust by misconducting themselves in office. But more importantly, we would also allow unfettered space for the anti-corruption agencies to deal with anybody who abuses the public trust under my administration. We in government.
Good afternoon, Accra. This is
right. So that was flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama. I have online now Musa K. Dankwa, who is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Now, the Global Info Analytics have been doing some research on the upcoming 2024 elections. Good afternoon. I think we've lost Musa Dankwa there. Good afternoon, Musa.
Good afternoon.
Yes, it's good to have you once again, to speak to the results of your very recent poll. Many thanks again. First, run us through when Global Info Analytics Limited put together this survey and whether it was conducted across the country.
Right, thank you very much for having me. This poll is the normal poll that we release every 90 days. So it is the last for the year that we conducted between 22nd December and 30th December. The polls were conducted in 82 constituencies in all the 16 regions. And in all, 5,881 voters were engaged for this round of polls.
Right. So you indicate that the findings, you indicate that John Dramani Mahama for the first time is leading in the Ashanti and Eastern regions. Now, this is quite unusual given that the NPP almost always wins those regions.
Yes, but that shouldn't surprise anyone because the collaborative evidence lies in the direction of the country and people's standard of living. If you look at the polling number that we've just released, over 77% or so of Ashanti region voters say that Ghana is headed in the wrong direction. Ashanti region.
I see.
Eastern region is around 70%. And if you look at those who said that the standard of living in the last 12 months has gotten worse, those who have been mostly impacted are from the northern region, Ashanti region, Eastern region. So with all these perceptions of voters, what do you expect them to do?
Right.
That is why the numbers are looking what they are right now. It may not necessarily be the result of what will happen in the election, but certainly it's a cause of concern for the ruling party.
Right. Now let's talk about Alan Tremanting. Is his performance surprising?
Yes, let me tell you what is happening. From the data we have seen, he has dropped maybe 3 percentage points compared to last October. And that number has gone to John Mahama and others, Bawumia as well. In fact, Bawumia went up 1.6% in the polls compared to last October. But Mahama went up nearly 5%. Now, what is happening here is that there are certain voters who would have voted for Alan Tremanting, but they somehow believe that a vote for him may not really give him a win. And for that matter, they wouldn't want to spoil their vote. So they end up voting for John Mahama. And these people are normally from Ashanti or the Akan areas. And more importantly, those who had intended to vote for Kennedy Japan and want him back in MPP flag bearer in 2028. They are not voting for Alan, they are voting for Mahama. That is why the numbers look the way they are looking right now, because there is coalition against Bawumia from the polls.
Interesting. Now, let's talk about first-time voters. I want to know if you interacted with any first-time voters, and what did your poll review
there were about 13% of the survey were first-time voters. And if you look at the first-time voter response that we had in the poll, now, if you give me about 51% of first-time voters intend to vote for John Mahama, 27% intend to vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and 7% are voting for Alan Tremanting. 7% intend to vote for other candidates, and then 9% are undecided. So currently, John Mahama has a huge lead among the first-time voters as well.
That's interesting. Did you also make any observations about women?
Yes, I mean, there's a straight fight. I mean, among the women, because the demography of women who were voting for the two candidates. Now, 56% of women are voting for John Mahama, compared to 26% for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and 8% for Alan Tremanting. When it comes to men, it is 56% again for Mahama and 28% for Bawumia and 7% for Alan Tremanting.
Right. So let's finally end up with the running mates. Do you think the choice of running mates could change the outcome of the next poll?
You know, before I answer that question, let's look at voters who said they will change their mind. We asked voters how likely are they going to change their mind between now and December. So if they elect a flag bearer, that will be some of the things that could bring the changes. If you look at the polling numbers, 67% of voters said they are not likely to change their mind between now and December. 16% said yes, they are likely to change their mind. And 17% said they are neutral about changing their mind. So if you look at the window that the parties have to change minds, it's just 33% of voters that they have to change their mind. But we don't know what significance this running mate will make, because I have always said that this election is not about running mate election. This is Bawumia and Mahama and Alan Tremanting. It doesn't matter who they elect. What about the person they pick? That person may help to stem some hemorrhaging in the polls, but it will not galvanize the thing.
Right. Many thanks for joining me. Interesting statistics there, and we'll look forward to the results of your next poll.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Now, Musa Dankwa is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. And a quick recap of our headlines. Roads and Highway Ministry assures work on the expansion of the 19.5-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway, which would ease traffic buildup and also enhance the movement of goods from the port city of Tema. Also, vetting of prospective NPP parliamentary aspirants enters day 2. We're going live now to Kumasi in the Ashanti region, where we will be speaking to our correspondent Williams Evans Inkum, who is on site. Now, this afternoon, the race for who leads the NPP in its remaining constituencies ahead of elections 2024 is taking a heated turn, with disqualified aspirants taking the fight to the party. Now, delegates began meeting the various vetting committees in the respective regions yesterday as the party completes its reorganization stage ahead of the 2024 general elections. At least 4 of the aspirants from various constituencies have already been disqualified on day 1 alone. On the line is Judith Brown, who is at the NPP headquarters in Accra. Good afternoon, Judith.
Good afternoon, Nancy.
Yes, Judith. So what have you observed so far for today?
Nancy, it's an absolute festival right here at the Burton premises. We've had masses. In fact, compared to yesterday, the numbers here are overwhelming. They've gathered here in support, showing their support or chanting in support of various candidates that have come. So far, we've had candidates like Wusu come in. We've had Sheila Batel. They're all getting vetted today. We've also had Henry Cortez, who also was vetted. I earlier spoke to him, and he's been telling us what he thinks of the vetting process and, of course, what his intention to, of course, win that particular election during the primaries on the 27th of January.
Well, the MPP believes in democracy. The ideologies that help to shape and form the political party called NPP thrives on democracy. And so everybody is allowed to express his views, his opinion, and also get involved in an election. After all, the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, went through contests 3 times. He emerged as a flag bearer and eventually the president. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia recently went through contest. He emerged as the flag bearer of our party. And so that has been the tradition of NPP. And I don't.
Right. So Judith, you just spoke to Henry Quarte there, but have you met any first timers?
Nancy, if you can repeat that for me.
Yes, I said we just listened to Henry Quarte talking about democracy within the NPP. Have you met any first timers?
First timers, not yet. We are yet to meet some of them, but I spoke to Moses Abo as well. He is contesting as well against Henry Quarte. He is saying that he has the backing of almost all the constituency members. That's according to him. He also says that he has the backing of Sheikh Isikwe, who is a former minister, of course. But he is very confident that he will win the Ayawaso Central seat this year during the primaries on the 27th of January.
Well, good luck to all of the aspirants there. Thank you very much, Judith, for that report. I'm going now straight to the Ashanti region, where William Evans Inkum is here with us from the Vetting Center. Many thanks, Evans. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Right, Evans. So what has been your observation this morning? Any first-time aspirants?
Yes, of course. For the 5 constituency, they are all first timers. COP Alex Mensah and, of course, Royal Raf, say. These are the 2 leading contenders as far as the 5 constituencies. Of course, the others are OWAS and Kingsley. We've all gone through the process successfully. Earlier, I engaged Royal COP Alex Mensah, trying to understand why it took so long at the veteran, and he tells me, in fact, one of his guys told me that he was being questioned heavily on what he said during, that commission hearing. I'm talking about the IGP case scandal. So, question on, a statement that he made before the commission that he was a sympathizer of the party came up strongly because they are looking for card-bearing members who can lead the position. So for a sympathizer of the party to declare was something that the pressing committee was heavily questioning him on. But eventually, he was led to contest the parliamentary primary. So as I'm talking to you now, COP Alex Mensah has declared. Lawyer Raf, the president, also declared.
Very well. Right, so Evans, we'll be catching up with you later on in subsequent bulletins to find out what's going on there. Better luck to all of the aspirants there.
Okay, the face quite noise, so if you can repeat the question for me.
Yes, that wasn't a question. I was saying that we're wrapping up, and then we'll catch up with you later on in other bulletins to find out what happens for the rest of the day.
Well, so today will be the final day for the vetting process. Hopefully by 5 p.m., all the other remaining constituencies, or as far from the remaining constituencies, will have been vetted, and that will be amen.
Very well. Thank you very much, Evans, for that update. Right, so Evans Inkum is at the Vetting Center in Kumasi in the Ashanti region, where two newcomers, he says, have been cleared and have been vetted and are in good standing to run for parliamentary seats for the NPP. And now a roundup of our headlines just before we go. Roads and Highways Ministry assures work on the expansion of the 19.5-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway would ease traffic build-up and also enhance the movement of goods from the city port of Tema. Vetting of prospective NPP parliamentary aspirants enters day 2, and we went live for some updates there on the ground. And with barely 11 months to the general elections, the latest survey by Global Info Analytics predicts a one-touch victory for the NDC's John Dramani Mahama. Many thanks for joining me this afternoon on the news. My name is Nancy Vukania. Do stay tuned.
Gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good afternoon. It's time now for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, financial analyst calls for comprehensive analysis of banks' loan portfolio as ratings agency Fitch Solutions foresees deepening loan quality crisis amidst economic strains.
And are taking a sectoral analysis of their loan book to identify the trouble areas and, if possible, move away from these trouble areas in future loan extension.
And Ghana Union of Traders Association calls for retention policy to control excessive repatriations this year. We'll hear from President of the association.
We should have a retention policy by the state where we can retain some of this repatriation being made by experts.
My name is Mino Afo. We have details of these stories and more lined up for you. Stay with us. Thank you so much for your time. We'll start off with Fitch Solutions, which has sounded the alarm bells over the deteriorating loan quality within Ghana's banking sector, highlighting a troubling trajectory. The ratings agency fears banks may record more non-performing loans in the coming months of 2024. The Flowing Through Business News Desk report has the details.
According to the UK-based firm, the banking sector's non-performing loans (NPL) ratio rose sharply from 14% in October 2022 to 18.3% in October 2023 as high interest rates, inflation, and weaker economic growth weighed on consumers' ability to repay loans. The report also said the rising bad debts and weak loan growth in half year of 2024 will lead to further deterioration in loan quality. However, loan quality should start to improve in the second half of 2024 as the economic environment improves and banks make a concerted effort to improve it by reducing exposure to certain sectors. The banking sector's NPL ratio, Fitch Solutions said, is considerably higher than its peers in the African region. It added that, due to the very strong deposit growth and much weaker loan growth, the already low loan-to-deposit ratio will continue to fall in 2024.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report. Meanwhile, a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, is urging a comprehensive analysis of banks' loan portfolio. He believes this could help banks identify hotspots in future loan disbursements.
This current growth in non-performing loans tells us something about the state of the Ghanaian economy. Why are borrowers not paying or servicing their loans? Then we can also look at the fact that increasing non-performing loans gives us an insight into the borrower's behavior and intention to pay after receiving these loans. What should the bank do by way of strategy? The banks will have to consider aggressive collection strategy. The banks will also have to look at the governance and supervision of their credits. The banks, again, can look at undertaking a sectoral analysis of their loan book to identify the trouble areas and, if possible, move away from these trouble areas in their future loan extension. It will not hurt if the banks redesign their loan extension models. One can also not forget about the fact that banks must look at collateral management in their attempt to deal with these non-performing loans.
That was Dr. Benjamin Amoah, a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. And on to more stories. Fitch Solutions also forecasts a 5% increase in Ghana's gold output for the year 2024. This optimistic projection is attributed to a combination of factors, including mine restorations, the initiation of new projects, and the incorporation of artisanal mining into official output figures. The following News Desk report has more.
The anticipated rise in gold production aligns well with the country's robust export prospects. The research firm's mining team specifically anticipates this growth, citing the contributions from mine restorations, new projects entering operation, and the inclusion of artisanal mining in the official output figures as pivotal elements supporting Ghana's exports. Shifting focus to the agricultural sector, Fitch Solutions also predicts a 3% upsurge in cocoa production. This positive projection is underpinned by increased farm gate prices, expected to deter the illicit smuggling of Ghana's cocoa beans, thereby further boosting export potential. However, amidst the positive export outlook, Fitch Solutions anticipates a resurgence in imports due to heightened domestic demand. This increase in imports could counterbalance the strong export performance, with net exports potentially reducing headline real GDP growth by 0.4 percentage points. In the context of trade dynamics, the Ghana Statistical Services 2023 Trade Vulnerabilities Report spotlighted gold as a pivotal export. Notably, gold saw a substantial 9.4 percentage point surge in its export share in the first half of the year compared to 2022. Regionally, gold emerged as a primary export, comprising over half of the country's exports to Europe, that is 53.4%, and nearly half of both Asia, 48%, and Africa, 47%.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on Fitch Solutions' forecast of 5% increase in Ghana's gold output for 2024. Away from that, Ghana Union of Traders Association wants government to implement retention policies to control excessive repatriations from the country. In an interview with 3 Business, President of the association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, explained that government must act swiftly to save the economy from the resulting excessive cedi depreciation that Ghana suffers at early times of every year.
When we look at the dominance of the foreigners in our economy, at the end of the year, most of them do their repatriation. The masters of the economy, the Chinese, are going back for their holiday, Chinese holiday, and they took a chunk of money. So it means that we have to adopt a more pragmatic and innovative way, either through our investment laws and all that, to be able to contain this situation. And I've said this, that we, as a nation, we should have a retention policy by the state where we can retain some of this repatriation being made by this expert and all that. And that normally we can use the investment laws to control the excessive repatriation of our funds that leads to this perennial depreciation that we suffer at the end of the year and then through to January and February.
Meanwhile, Dr. Joseph Obing has again criticized the use of policy rates by the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank to tame inflation. According to him, inflation can be tamed if government immediately implements policies that will reduce the cost of doing businesses in the country. The issue of high rates of price increases have been a menace in recent years. Individuals and businesses bore the brunt of inflation rates as high as 53.6% in 2023, although the Monetary Policy Committee of Bank of Ghana tried to tame it using the policy rate. Businesses, however, believe that in the new year 2024, policymakers should consider reducing cost of operations for businesses in order to better control inflation.
We think that the inflation that we've been experiencing is as a result of accumulation of cost, because of the duties that we pay, the taxes that we pay, the cascading effect of the VAT itself, and other uncontrolled expenditure that is mitigating against businesses.
For Guta, government does not have to wait till the mid-year budget review to ease pressure on the business community.
There are some charges that can be looked at regardless of the fact that we've read budget or not. Because I recall that when we were talking about the paperless regime, when we were implementing it, we were able to prune down cost of doing business to about 12 cost items. And now it numbers about 2021 cost items. So there are so many things that we can do. The shipping line charges that we keep on talking, they are arbitrary.
Government is therefore being urged to increase stakeholder engagement this year to make this possible. Menu Afol, 3 Business, Accra. And that was a report ending business news this afternoon. My name is Menu Afol. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Do stay tuned. Black Rasta will soon join in for Urban Blend.